Wanted to mention the Lakers. So we covered Celtics. We praised a good team. There have been some interesting things with the Lakers beyond what we normally talk about. This isn't like a Russell Westbrook roasting session or anything like that, anything that we've heard ad nauseum. So wanted to mention because it's been an interesting week. So the Lakers in their last 4 have gone 2-2. So compared to the rest of their season, pretty good news, right? But those 2 wins were against the Spurs. So take that with a grain of salt. Spurs, not great this year, just to put it bluntly. You have a game 4 games ago for the Lakers where they played the Phoenix Suns. They lose to the Phoenix Suns. Not a huge shock there, but we have an incident where I believe the sequence was Ayton got a dunk kind of right in Anthony Davis's face and sort of let him know about it, sort of, pumped his chest a little bit. I don't think anything out of the ordinary of what we see when you have like a really physical play. Didn't look all that dirty, but there was some noise made, tempers, flare, whatever. So that's kind of the setup. They're running back, and then Austin Reeves ends up with the ball going up for a layup and just kind of gets blocked / mauled. I can't remember who by. I don't believe it was Ayton that blocked his shot, but Ayton ends up with the ball at the end of the play and sort of walks right by Austin Reeves. And Patrick Beverley interprets this as Ayton standing over Austin Reeves, taunting him, just sees red, charges at him, little like shoulder block kind of wrestling maneuver into the middle of his back. Ayton had his back turned to Beverley. So even though DeAndre Ayton, a much bigger center, much bigger human specimen than Patrick Beverley, he goes stumbling over Austin Reeves's body and falls on the floor. The players are separated. Nothing else comes out of it. No extra fighting, just tempers rise, of course, bench is clear. And you have the players separated. Patrick Beverley goes back to the bench. Long story short, he ends up with a 3-game suspension. Justin, I just wanted your quick thoughts since this has been everywhere. What were your thoughts about that sequence? I don't know if you saw the full 5 minutes or whatever of what happened beforehand and then that play going down, but did you feel like the suspension was justified? Do you feel like Patrick Beverley misread the situation, or was he justified in sticking up for his teammate? Because I think it's kind of like interpreted on the Lakers side as like a rally cry for these players. But how do you see it?
Yeah, I think in terms of both sides of the league and then of the Lakers, I hate to be kind of playing neutral, but I think it's a situation of both sides being right in the situation. I think as the league, you can't tolerate that type of incident, and so I think a heavy suspension is warranted. At the same time, you have to respect the sentiment of Patrick Beverley in terms of defending his teammate there. I mean, especially we've seen athletes. I mean, look what happened to Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, that was a non-contact injury. I mean, injuries can happen at any time, so who knows what it could have happened to DeAndre Ayton. I mean, he trips over somebody,
Sure.
I mean, who knows what could have happened in that situation. So I think the league had to come down pretty harshly. At the same time, I think, looking at it, I can see how Patrick Beverley read that situation as an intimidation tactic on his teammate. That makes sense to me. Did he take it too far? I think he did. But at the same time, he's known for this type of behavior. He's not a major player on this team, so I don't think it's going to hurt the Lakers overall in terms of him being suspended, or if somehow the Lakers make the playoffs. If this is factor into, Beverley, if he gains more techs, and, if there's something where he's kept out of the playoffs just due to his technical fouls throughout the season, I don't think it's going to be too much of a factor for this Lakers team long term. So I think overall, there's not going to be too much consequence other than, this will lead to kind of the legend of Patrick Beverley in terms of how he is, as a player that you want him on your team, but you don't want to play against him.
Yeah, I actually think for the Lakers locker room, this is actually a great thing. This is just having a play like this that ignites emotion in that team, I think is a really good positive thing, because it's felt kind of blah all season long. And so it does feel like one of those moments that can change things. Now, having said that, in looking at the replay several times, it doesn't appear to me that Ayton is taunting Austin Reeves when he goes over. Like he's not looking at him, like making eye contact. He's not flexing over him. He kind of does like the ball smack type of thing with the basketball when he collects it. But it didn't appear to me like a taunting thing. Now it's a little difficult to tell at that camera angle, but just from what I'm able to see, it looked like Ayton was just kind of being goofy. And a lot of Suns fans will tell you that they want him to be more of like a taunter and an instigator. They want him to be a little bit more riled up than he actually is by nature. He's a little bit more aloof and passive at times. So I just don't think he was taunting. I think Patrick Beverley misread the situation, but I will still stand by what I said in terms of like trying to ignite that locker room and increase camaraderie on that team. I think it's actually a net positive. And I think Patrick Beverley's 3-game suspension is already up at this point, since they played the Spurs twice and the Pacers since then. But yeah, an interesting situation. A lot of people really freaked out about it. I think maybe more than what was warranted, but that's what tends to happen. I do agree with the suspension though. And I agree with what you said there. I mean, you have to, throw the book at a player that does that in the middle of a game, but I'm glad it didn't come to fists. Best thing the Lakers have going for them right now after these recent games, they got a little bit of momentum back. They've seen recently Anthony Davis bring things back, but then also have some injury concerns himself. So it's been a little up and down there. Best news they have right now per Bovada is the plus 120 odds for 6-man that we discussed last time we were looking at all the rewards for Russell Westbrook to win 6-man of the year. He's still the favorite at this point.
Do you think at this point of the season, that the big hype coming into it was, Kawhi Leonard returning, and he's kind of been hit with somewhat of the injury bug. Just he kind of give your assessment of how Kawhi has acclimated, returning to the Clippers and just the expectations of him wants to begin becoming the leader. Do you think that, heading into just the latter stretches of the season, he'll be more active in terms of the games he plays and kind of leading the Clippers to kind of more of the top of the Western Conference?
Yeah, it's been a strange start for him because, first of all, we saw him come off the bench the first 2 games. And immediately after those first 2 appearances for him, Ty Lue hated it. He hated it. As he told me once, Andrew, this messes with my rotations. But he didn't quite say messes. He said something else. So he really did not like that you're having, in that situation, Kawhi Leonard, closed the first half with essentially the starting unit, and then open the third quarter with the starting unit. But then that bumps the guy who started the first half with the starters, like the starting shooting guard, in this case, Norman Powell. He doesn't start the second half. So there was a lot of rhythm things that were just off. And so that was killed immediately, that idea. Then he comes back and then is hurt after 2 games. What people did see from him, just gameplay wise, when he was playing, was that, yes, at times, you could see the fatigue set in after not playing in 15 months. You could see at times, like, I don't know if rust is the right word, although Kawhi had used that word, but, just I think on the shooting side of things, there were times when he couldn't get quite to his spot, and that was something that he could do nearly automatically when he was fully healthy. And the explosion wasn't all the way back, at least in glimpses, but when he did come back and he was in the starting unit, Reggie Jackson, the point guard, had mentioned that what we're seeing is all the small things in the way he affects the game without shooting, because he was only taking, fewer than 10 shots a game in those 2 games since when he came back from his initial knee soreness. He was not shooting a whole lot, but he was affecting the game in a lot of ways. He was a plus-minus god, was about plus 25 one game, was really kind of moving the ball, and it sounds simple, but for this team, one of the worst passing teams in the NBA, that's a big deal to have ball reversals and the ball going left to right. So I think that he was filling some gaps that he saw needed. But again, we just haven't seen that since. And for as much as the Clippers feel like their defense has really been what's carried them and their offense is slowly coming along, they're going to basically have to start over from square one once he gets back fully and you see the rotations back, because we just really have not had much time with the starting and bench units together.
Andrew, forgive my ignorance, but could you clarify for me and the listeners these Kawhi knee issues, is this stemming from that quadriceps tendon issue that he had all those years ago, like later days in San Antonio, or are these further knee issues that have come up since that time?
That's something that I don't have a grasp on because, Kawhi, I mean, as much as many players in the NBA are want to keep their health information private, Kawhi is obviously maybe the farthest end of that, the most extreme end of that. So I don't know if it's from the partial tear of the ACL that ended his 2021 season or something that stems back further. But it is something that when he did experience soreness in his knee, and stiffness, I should say, it was called stiffness in his right knee in late October. One former NBA team doctor who had been with the Dallas Mavericks, his name is T.O. Sorial. He's was with the Mavericks for more than 20 years. He's done hundreds of ACLs, if not thousands. And he said that it is a little unusual to have stiffness, which he called swelling, that long after surgery. And so that was something that stood out to him. Now, we don't know the full diagnosis. We don't know a lot about Kawhi's knee. So we're sort of operating a little bit of an information vacuum. But it was, to someone who does this for a living, he made it sound like, swelling in the knee that late probably would be unexpected.
What is the mentality of the Celtics fans that you're getting feedback from when you do your show? What are they saying to you? Are they excited about the Celtics being on top of the NBA, or are they just, hey, win us a title? It's title or a bust. Everything else is a failure. Like, what is kind of the mentality of the fans in Boston from what you're seeing?
Well, I think when you get to the postseason, there might be some element of title or bust, and if you don't, what are you going to do, and what's the missing piece, and how do we fix this, and on and on and on. But right now, as we sit here, on the eve of Thanksgiving, the mentality is, let's enjoy the freaking ride, right? Like this team's in first. It's so much fun to watch. It's fun to watch Tatum and Brown, who are really just sort of on the cusp of entering their primes. There's just so much good that. I personally get impatient with the people who are impatient and aren't willing to just sort of enjoy and sit back and watch and relax and have fun with the process. Especially it'd be one thing if the process was grinding and unpleasant and you're losing and it's not fun. Kind of like the trust the process thing with the Sixers years ago. They're making all these draft picks and they're still losing. And what's it going to be? And that's a different kind of process. That's like going from tanking to hopefully contending. And will it work out? Right now we have a contender in Boston that we just get to watch on a nightly basis. That's a good time to me. Turning on a Celtics game or a Bruins game for that matter, and just knowing going in, the odds are better that they're going to win than they're going to lose. That's fun to me. It's not like what it was watching the Red Sox in the summer when they were losing virtually every single game, it felt like, and finishing in last place in the division. Or, the Patriots right now, they're hot, but overall they're, barely a playoff team. And I don't think anyone would put them in the class of the Bills or the Chiefs in the AFC or the Eagles in the NFC. It's not Tom Brady's Patriots anymore. So let's enjoy it. Let's have fun with this. And I think that's what we're doing at the moment. At least that's what I'm doing, and the people that I associate myself with.
Do you feel like fans will eventually adopt that mentality? I think nowadays everything is just happens so quickly. Everybody wants something so immediately. And you're right, the journey is missed upon. I felt like during the pandemic, I felt like there was an opportunity with The Last Dance coming out. I think there was a lot of appreciation of the journey of those championship teams with the Bulls. I think now that things are, from this sports standpoint, just their schedules have resumed. Do you think we'll ever get to that point where I think fans will have more patience, or do you think it'll get progressively worse? No,
I think it gets worse. I think people lose patience more so than they gain it. Yeah. Because if you're not winning, there's a reason you're not winning, and that needs to be solved. People were getting impatient with just going to the East Finals, for years and years and years. And now they go to the NBA Finals and they fell just short. How do they get over the hump? And so this year, look as good as anybody else in the NBA at the moment, as you mentioned, first place as we sit here. So how do you actually finish the job this time around? And if they don't, whether it's an injury, multiple injuries, or bad matchup or whatever. Like Jason Tatum turns the ball over 100 times in the playoffs. Whatever it is that happens that is the catalyst, the reason for it not happening, that leads to a loss of patience. And do you blow it up? That's not me, but that's fans. Do you blow it up? Do you have to get rid of Jaylen Brown and put someone else next to Jason Tatum? That conversation existed for years, and it's quieted down now because of the success they just had. But if it doesn't work out this year, well, do you need to make a change? Do you need a better, more reliable, healthier big man? Al Horford's not getting any younger. Rob Williams can't stay on the floor. Is Marcus Smart a true point guard? Is the bench deep? But like, you name it, right? We could point in any number of different directions. Is Joe Mazzulla the answer? Do they need to go out and get an experienced head coach who's won a title before? So hopefully, I would like to avoid all of that. It'd be great if they just went out and won the thing. But there are a lot of other fans and teams and cities that feel that very same way, right?